I actually asked if you guys truly wanted me to give this talk or if you wanted me to leave. So I do appreciate you guys having us. So a little bit about iSpot before we get into the specifics here. So what we do, iSpot, what we do is measure TV ads, right? And so digital ads are easy to measure for the most part. If someone's clicked on it, you get it. If you pay for an ad roll, people get that too. So it's easy to have an understanding of what your ad performance is digitally. So what we're doing at iSpot is bringing the same types of metrics and the methodology to TV ads. And so we can do that for linear, we do that for OTT, and we also have something similar to what Google has in their analytics platform with their Pixel. We do the same thing. And so that's kind of the basis of what we do. So some of our key technologies, they're the same as everyone else's. So nothing big there, except for we do run in on-site at Google and AWS, but our main production site is AWS. Just a few stats. We deal with a lot of data, daily, monthly, quarterly, yearly. And so as we have scaled, we've looked at multiple ways we could actually run our platforms in different places and on site. And so really what you think about when you think about us, there's quite a few CPUs running just daily all the time, just kind of always on. But at night, in order to get data out, we spin up out of AWS about 1,000 to 2,000 servers that just spin up, do a whole bunch of work, and then pump out a bunch of metrics. And we'll come back to that in a little bit and why that's important. So in 2014, really, let's see, my slide I got backwards. 2014, we were kind of out there, hybrid only, it's the only way to go, right? You got to be agnostic. You can't be an AWS only. We're like the biggest proponents of it, and it's really the only thing we ever talked about. And the reason behind that was a lot of the work we did was really centralized, and you could mainly do only on-prem. And what that is for us, we have a bunch of feeds that come in for TV, right? And those feeds, we're actually monitoring channels. So there's about 120 plus channels we monitor. We have OTT antennas. And so in order to get that done, you really couldn't do that in the cloud. You had to do that on site, right? And so in order for us, what we did is we had different sites around the US and also backup sites in which we did this. And so we mainly did this for national commercials only. And so for the hard part, we had to find data centers that would allow us to run TV to a data center, right? That was, it's not normal. It's not a normal use case. And so as time grew, what we did is we had a large part of our work happening on site, and then we'd push up, basically up to AWS and to Google, and that's where our website traffic was. That was our main application, and that's largely the only thing we did there. Everything else we did back on site. However, as time progressed, what started to happen is the large companies started moving their services into the cloud also. So it became a lot easier to go and say, okay, well, what can we do in the cloud? And so as we started to look at some of our services, quite a bit was being replicated there. Now, where we started to cross kind of the chasm is when many of our people came to us and said, well, you do national commercials now. Can you do local? Well, can you imagine us trying to do local out of our own data centers, right? Spinning up local in 50 states, trying to monitor these things. Just wasn't going to happen. So we had to figure out how we were going to do this and scale, and not only scale, but also make sure that there's replication. And we have disaster recovery, because all of these clients said, hey, we're some of the top people, Fortune 500. We're using your service. We want to make sure that not only are you running, but we want to make sure you're backed up. And so that presented a problem for us. We said, all right, well, that's not really going to work. But what started to happen is many of the TV providers are also pushing their stuff up into the cloud. So now it became a lot easier for us to do that work. So on-site 2018, we bought a bunch of servers. We had everything running. It's 2014. Everything's running. Now it's time to go do this again. So if you look at where we started, we probably started in our data center here in Bellevue. We also have a few others across the US, and we had hundreds of servers going, right? But now it's time to go buy again. So we had to look at well, if we want to do we want to spend the money again? Do we want to go through the contracting phase? Do we want to have salespeople come out and talk to us about how great their servers are, right? Do you want to figure out, have you guys ever done those lease applications to actually lease hardware? If you haven't, they're not fun. It's not something you ever want to do. And so, we just thought about it. It's like, well, the network person we used to have isn't around, so we don't do the networking stuff anymore. A lot of the stuff we have is just kind of running. So why put out that kind of money to do it all over again? Furthermore, as we were starting to grow, we actually changed our overall hardware inside of AWS and Google because of the sizing over the last few years, 6 to 7 times. So to do that on-prem became impossible, right? Just couldn't do it. So we said, yeah, not going to do that. So cloud 2000, and so that's kind of the background, the backdrop. So we were growing, didn't necessarily want to deal with the process. 2018 come around. Not only could we do everything we're doing on-prem, we could also do it all in the cloud. We were able to spin up thousands of servers overnight and just have them run. And the beauty is, with reserve instances and spot instances, between combining those things, it became really easy just to not only replicate, scale, and if we reserve those instances, we can move up and down the instance types fairly easily, right? And so it became this thing of, well, now if we do this lease thing, we bought this hardware for 3 years, it'd be sitting on site, and odds are, 6 months from then, the sizing of it was dead. So we had to look at this. Do we want to have overcapacity just right? Or do we say, why not worry about it? Just go to Amazon or Google, spin it up when you need it, right? And so we made the choice, that's what we do. And so for us, it works kind of the best. And look, I was always the person who used to kick AWS for what they did, right? The costs suck. It wasn't easy to reserve instances. Once you had them, you were kind of stuck with them. Look, the model just sucked. And so why bother? Look, they've changed a lot. Google's changed a lot. Look, I don't, for us to buy another server makes no sense. We'll never probably do it again. Well, I take that back. We do testing out of our own site. But that requires one guy to go plug in a server and just have it running, right? I probably could do it. So in short, and I wanted to make sure I didn't give you guys a lot of time back because I was like the anti-guy. And just have you ask questions if you wanted to. But hybrids, in my opinion, is dead. There's no real reason if you're a startup to go line up these servers and say, well, let's go plug something into a basement or go get a data center somewhere and go through that credit process. It doesn't make a ton of sense. If you're a large company, it doesn't make a ton of sense to buy thousands of servers again when you really don't have to and put out that expenditure. If you're a CFO, the financing side of that kind of doesn't make any sense anymore. Just why do it? I would love to hear. And so a lot of times what we talk about, if we were going to do it again, it's for, not only is it a use case that's niche and you can't do it in the cloud, but maybe it's for security and you want to have certain things that are not in the cloud anymore. But let's face it, after so many breaches, all your data's out there anyway, so fuck it. Why bother, right? So it's like, what are the real use cases? So I'd love to hear from you guys and what you think and how, as you guys progress through this track, what types of things have you heard that's really compelling to say, okay, well, I want to be the guy that manages the data center. I want to have staffing, right, to go do this. We have stuff that's still running and we stay up at night when the power goes out, when it's raining, right? Did we actually make sure that the drains are all clean so the water won't be backing up into the building because we truly had that happen before. So those types of things just kind of go away. In our case, we're running across AWS in multiple regions. We have stuff running in Google, ditto. We even have some stuff we're starting to spin up at Microsoft for some reporting that we're doing. So we're kind of all over the place, and it all just kind of runs. And literally, it's one guy who's just clicking buttons, spinning it up, and having it run. Right? We don't have the people to manage this. We don't have the infrastructure. And in fact, our server room, we're planning a party room for. So we're changing it to we figure it's cool, so you might as well do some ping pong and play games inside of it. So that's what we're doing it. So in my estimation, there'll be a lot of people following us and changing their data centers to playrooms. So my thoughts. Do you guys have any questions? Yeah.
Did any workflows give you trouble moving? Were there particular challenges and so on?
Nope. So the biggest one for us that we thought would be there would be actually getting TV into AWS. However, what happened was you had Xfinity doing some work there for all their streaming. You had Hulu, of course, those guys do streaming. You also have where you have these truck stops, right? So that's actually provided by a service. It used to be that those people provided those services on site essentially and in certain locations, but they moved all that stuff to the cloud. So now all of a sudden I could buy all of the things I did locally in all my data centers. I can now do it all in the cloud. And not only I could do that, I could do it, have national ads and local ads across all 50 states. Just overnight. It wasn't real overnight. Like 4 years it started to happen. So as we started to peak back up and started to buy servers, everyone else is moving to the cloud, right? So there wasn't anything really tough for us to do. And furthermore, as we started to grow and you saw that we had this ability to just spin up servers and then let them go, right, overnight, that capacity is just something we couldn't do. You know, you can't spin up, I can't have 1,600 servers sitting in my building that was doing nothing most of the time and just spin them up and let them run and then turn them off, right? So it was really quite easy for us.
How much of your use case is compute versus storage? Because I think that we do see economic divergence there. Compute versus where I totally agree with you there.
Well, if we go back to the slide, so it depends on what you mean by storage, right? So if you're simply just storing data and it's hanging out, sure, I question why you even need the data. But in our case, yeah, we have quite a bit. And that's only the Redshift stuff. So there's quite a, I have to get you the numbers, but as far as storage, we're storing a shit ton of data.
So that's
right?
not a shit ton.
No, that's just for our Redshift. So that's only Redshift. So we have MySQL, we have other stuff running as well. But yeah, I can get you the numbers. I don't keep them off the top of my head because the storage itself isn't really an issue for us.
Well, but I wonder if that's because you were asking about the economics of it. I wonder if that might be some difference where it's storage. Because I can say for us, it's the storage that it's the economic driver.
Yeah.
And networking.
Yeah, no, I get you on network stuff. And in my case, when I need the capacity I need and the type of networking people I need, so we've done this before with the raw networking guys, and it doesn't go well, right? And so if I can take that part of it out and get rid of the FTEs that no longer manage the network, that part's not really my issue, right? So then it does become storage. And I'll have to get you back all of the data size, but these are really just daily things that we deal with on a daily basis. It's not our overall storage. But if you look at it, so we have 260 million ads that have been running since we've been in business for 6 years, and each one of those has a variation, right? And we have not only all those ads, we have all the times they have run, right? Plus the videos all online where you can actually go watch it all, right? So just in that alone, there's quite a bit of data.
What percentage of your AWS bill is storage?
What percentage? Robocaller, imagine that. Percentage, probably 40 to 50, kind of depends.
Okay.
Yeah.
So not insignificant?
No,
Okay.
absolutely not.
Is that
Yeah.
S3?
Yeah, most of it's in S3. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I do tell you too, we are aggressive about archiving data and making sure that we're not keeping it around just to keep it. So in the case where we have our little Google Analytics tool, that data, you can see the metrics inside of the app and we'll keep those around, but the actual data itself that drives that, we don't keep around. And we're pretty serious with the customers as well about making sure we get rid of it, and we have contracts for how long it needs to stay around. So some of those things we are aggressive to manage cost, right? Because some of that gets out of hand. And we do have customers who want to go back years. Like we've been with you for 6 years, now we want 6 years worth of data. So we have to go back and get it, pull it all back in and run. So that's kind of the way we work. Yeah.
How do you choose between what you push into AWS versus Google?
They both have everything.
Oh, okay, so they're basically mirror copies.
In the case of Google, it just kind of sits there, and we run out of AWS, but if something happened, we could always spin up there. Why we did that is because at some point in my life, I was a genius, and I said, I'm going the wrong way. No, I truly am a genius. No, I have to say it myself in order to believe it. But at some point, we just said, look, we're not going to be stuck. We're on Amazon only. We used to write about this, right, and just tell everyone. We're not going to be Amazon only. We won't be just Google. We won't be just that, right? We'll never get stuck where all of a sudden price changes or something happens and we're done. Or when we really came up with this was when Amazon had something go on in Virginia, right? And all of us are down for a bit. yeah, we were lucky where we just said, well, most of our stuff's running over here. The little bit that we're stuck over there, we could run without for a day or two.
So when you say hybrid is dead, maybe you mean on-prem is dead from your perspective as opposed to hybrid? Because you are
Fair. I agree. You're right. We're hybrid. On-prem, I'll change this just for you. Hold on.
You got 4 slides to change.
You got a good point. So in real time, just like our application, we can go to Amazon.
I feel this is a triumph for the moderator of the track.
I got to spell it right. How about that? Boom, done. In real time. It didn't even take 1,000 servers to do that. But no, I agree with that. No, totally.
And how much of that, to totally agree about the existing laid in sand industrial complex.
Yep.
Making it exceedingly hard to buy your own computer.
Yes.
How much of that do you think, in an arbitrary fantasy world, where those economic, where the lease wasn't a problem, where the
Yep.
hardware had more of that software like how much of that pain would go away, or how much of it's still there because of the FTE load and because of everything else?
In my opinion, I think it's still there. And that's in my opinion. It's good. It's just my opinion. And what I've seen from the hardware providers and some of our customers, so it's hard to get up here and kind of bash them, but and the way they work is still kind of ancient, right? It's the same process that it used to be all the time. Have a sales guy stop by, lease, so we send out a piece of paper, then you want a credit app, right? Then you got to figure out how much money I have in the bank, and then you can deliver 3 weeks later. Truckload comes, and drops off these servers. They leave and say good luck, right? And then my guys go out there and plug them in. It's like, that's dead. I don't have to do that anymore, right? So if that process changed, right, and even the leasing process changed where it was more like Google or Amazon, I think it wouldn't be as bad as it is today. So, yeah, I think on-prem is just kind of going away. Yeah. In fact, I don't know of any CTOs or CIOs or anyone else begging to go buy servers.
What if Amazon and Google not only were providing the easy financing and leasing, but actually racking and stacking that so there was no FTEs, it was just one who would use the CTO or just charge ordering and seeing what was being managed by the provider?
Do I have to sign a contract and talk to you?
Sure. Or no.
No.
No, there you go.
No. Look, if I can pay as I go and someone it was click through and it just happened, it all showed up, sure, I'd do it. But if I have to sit around and talk to you about the contract and how often you're going to come and the level of service and all that good stuff, no, I don't want to do it. Not because I'm a computer guy and I don't like talking to people. It's a lot easier just to click a button and go to AWS or Azure or Google or anywhere else, right? So it's just tough. Yeah. Are you thinking of a service like that? Do you have one?
Private cloud API provisioning.
Yeah.
Single tenant.
Yeah.
Easy to do.
Yeah.
Just curious, do you manage down to kind of the unit economics level for your users? Or are you just looking at, like, I knew what my on-prem costs were before, in the cloud, I think, plus or minus, I'm generally in the same ballpark, a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, we manage because it's part of our gross profits. So yeah, so we not only do we manage it, but we also charge a technology fee. So yeah, so we try to keep our gross margins. Yeah, we manage it. So absolutely, yeah, we absolutely know. Our CFO can tell you down to the dollar. Yeah.
So when you were analyzing the different cloud providers, you seem like you enjoy AWS and Google. Why did you make that choice? Like, what about Microsoft or IBM?
Yeah, so for us, we started our app was, our website was running AWS is kind of what everyone knew, and that was 2010, right? So from there, it was kind of easy to grow because you're already there, right? And so then we said, well, let's make sure we're also able to run in other places, and then the logical place was Google, and part of that was because Google sent us this coupon and said, hey, try this for a year for free or something like that, right? So we turned it on, we're like, hey, that works, it's pretty cool. So we kind of just stayed there. We do use a little bit of Microsoft as well. So yeah, we're kind of agnostic. We don't really care as long as the price is right. So yeah. And they have the services we want, right? So I would say it wasn't until late, as of late, that Microsoft had the services that everyone else had, right? At some point, when we were going in 2010, all they really wanted to have was their Windows stuff. So it was as of late they became a lot better at that.
Yeah, because I mean, it sounds like it is important.
Not that I'm slamming Windows, but
It is important to be able to run local clouds to not get logged in.
Yep.
Do you deliberately limit your spread in terms of some new AWS service comes out? Do you put any kind of guardrails around using that, or do you always take the best service wherever it is?
Good question. Actually, so if a new Amazon service goes out, we absolutely won't use it. So no, we tie it down, and new services and the new stuff they have, we don't usually use it. What we have seen, and maybe it's the way we have used it, a lot of the new stuff isn't exactly stable, right? And so it becomes harder to become reliant on it until it's been baked for some time. So we typically, if you look at what we do, there's nothing up there that's new and earth-shattering that someone else isn't already doing or has already talked about. It's been up there for a while, right? So there's not much new we do or new services. And internally, it's really hard to spin up servers just to go out and do it as a dev. So that actually does go through tech ops, so we manage the cost. Yeah. And so really the data center we have on site becomes where they get to spin everything up. So they do that through up in Nebula, and that just runs there. So they spin up there and just test. So all those old servers just become test servers at this point.
So that puts a lot of limiters on the new kind of services you can use because you don't have
Yep. Yeah, for a reason. Look, it might be myopic because you could be learning and doing other stuff, but as those things become more baked, we do use them. It's just that in our case, we are working with the top brands, and really in the U.S. and sometimes the world. And to tell Target, we're depending on your data, and oops, we put it on this new thing and it went down. Yeah, it doesn't fly. So.
So it's fair to say then for you that it's really the physicality of a box that you don't want anymore. That
Yep.
The serverless and all of that containers, they're great, but like it's fine to have a VM or a reserved instance or whatever in the cloud. And use
Yep.
that.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. No, he's right. It's really on-prem. So yeah. No, you're right. We don't. The hardware spinning that stuff up. We're really not interested in doing any of that stuff anymore. Did I answer your question, by the way? Yeah, perfect. Cool. Any other questions? Get some time back. All right. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.